38-year-old Stan Henderson yesterday owned the picturesque Bluestone General Store at Framlingham, a 100-year-old building. Today, he has only the clothes he stands in. His life savings, 20 years of hard work, has gone up in flames. The building was not insured.
3 trucks, all the cars. Oh, maybe I was an Opal dealer before I bought this place here, and I suppose I lost about $50,000 worth of Opal. And
so all you've got is the clothes that you're standing in?
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
But you're still determined? You still want to?
Oh, yeah.
You still want to live in the area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this only happens once a bloody blue moon, and not due again for a long time yet, so nothing left to burn again this year, so I'll make a go of it.
Stan Henderson's view is typical of everyone I spoke to today. So what, they said. We've been through the drought, the locust plague and the floods. She'll be right, mate. And with the courage already shown by these people, you have to believe them. This is Peter Mitchell, east of Warrnambool, for National 9 News.
Further down the coast, the popular resort town of Lorne provided the typical profile for these fires. It came, the fire raging out of the northwest at frightening speeds, and in a matter of just a few minutes had destroyed more than 50 homes. Arthur Higgins was in the town.
The fire that devastated Lorne started 30 kilometres away in a timber mill at Deans Marsh. It spread towards the coastal town in just 14 minutes. Then it swept down over the mountain and virtually wiped out most of North Lorne in seconds. Families were evacuated to the foreshore, and that's where the residents spent the night. The Great Ocean Road was cut north of Lorne when a bridge caught fire and collapsed. The only way into Lorne was through Colac and Apollo Bay. The huge fire burned all evening in pockets, and as late as midnight, houses were suddenly bursting into flames. No sooner were the SES and the CFA in control at one place, another broke out. When the winds turned, the fire started to burn back, and again, several homes were threatened. As late as 3 a.m., we saw another house explode into flames. Again, the fire crews quickly got it under control. This house, owned by one of the firefighters, was in danger, so trees were cut down and the surrounding areas were hosed. But just on first light, the fire again turned away.
Is it if the fire's still going?
The people stirred on the foreshore. They'd curled there in mattresses, plastic bags, tents, and even slept in cars. From the foreshore, they returned to their homes to find scenes like these. Houses that once afforded beautiful views of the sea had gone completely. This one street was all but wiped out. In some cases, the fire had left just one home untouched. This home was a showpiece, landscaped gardens that had taken the owner 20 years to finish. All that was left was the brick stairs and some cobblestones. Altogether, 52 homes were destroyed at Lorne. There were 2 deaths, one at the timber mill at Deans Marsh, where the fire began, and another at Lorne, where a man was trapped and burned at the top of a mountain in a car. Although the fire was finished with Lorne, it wasn't over. The change in wind direction swept it back through Anglesey, and it burned fiercely in bush near homesteads at Modawarri. Thankfully, this time no homes were in the path of the blaze, and it soon burned itself out in thick scrub after more than 24 appliances had fought it for hours. Arthur Higgins at Lorne for National 9 News.
It seems incredible to reflect that just about 2 weeks ago, the whole south coast, that southwest area of Victoria, so popular with holiday makers, was indeed a crowded holiday area. Today, it's silent, smouldering, almost deserted. 4 people are dead. Hundreds of homes have been lost in fires that swept in from Deans Marsh and then burnt the coast from Lorne right through to Torquay. We have this report now from Joe Hall.
The fire raced through scrubland along the Great Ocean Road with such force that its speed simply could not be predicted. With winds of 120 knots, firemen had little chance against a 30-metre-high wall of flames. It almost wiped out several townships. There's little left of Aries Inlet, Fairhaven, Eastern View and Point Roadnight. Everywhere it sent people into a state of sheer panic. One of the worst hit areas was Anglesey, where its arrival was so unexpected it caught everyone by surprise.
Your guess is as good as mine, I don't know.
Almost as soon as families fled, their homes burst into flames.
About 9 o'clock, the township of Anglesey was completely cut off by the fire. Those people the police had been unable to evacuate were told, like we were, to leave their cars, dump their belongings and head for the beach.
For many, it was comforting to gather at the beach. Here they felt safe from the fire which was attacking the township on two fronts. Some people managed to rescue animals trapped in the blaze. They were as petrified as their owners. But while these people felt temporary relief, the task facing Anglesey firemen had just begun, and it was a life or death struggle.
The wind was so strong and you couldn't see a couple of feet in front of you. It broke windscreens of cars and backs of cars and houses, just lifted houses and roofs up hundreds of feet into the air, and mattresses, and they just floated around up in the sky. We're lucky actually to get out of there with their lives.
Perhaps the most devastated area on the west coast was at Aries Inlet. There only a few houses are left standing. Firemen fought for what they could, but by morning it was evident how hopeless the situation was. Even the local CFA headquarters had burnt to the ground. So too had the hotel, which over the years had become a landmark.
Police and those left destitute by the fire are just beginning to realise exactly what has happened. Not only has this fire destroyed hundreds of homes, but it's also destroyed the scenic beauty of the Great Ocean Road.
It's probably quite true to say the Great Ocean Road will never be the same. The once superb panoramic views are now almost eyesores, with blackened trees, piles of rubble that were once magnificent homes, and power lines and branches littered everywhere. A view from the air this morning shows exactly how destructive the West Coast blaze has been, and several spot fires are still burning. Meanwhile, in Anglesey, townsfolk are mourning the deaths of two people trapped in the fire. Last night was simply a question of getting out in time. For many, the sight facing them this morning was too much.
I didn't realise the extent of it until I came down here. But it's devastating. There's only 1 in 10 houses left in Aries Inlet, really.
Others had decided that if the house went, they would go too.
Well, I've had it for so long, I said I'm staying and fighting it. I did, and we beat it.
Tragically, another elderly man who had the same sentiments was told by police to leave his home. He too chose to stay, but the fire defeated him. Joe Hall, National 9 News.
Of course, the utter devastation in this area is really hard to comprehend until you speak to somebody who's been actually...
Quite wonderful. And our sympathies are with everyone who suffered some loss or some terror and agony in the whole day.
Federal government aid has been promised to the South Australian government. It'll begin pouring in immediately. Peter Harvey with the Prime Minister in the bushfire areas of South Australia and Victoria.
For those people who have just joined us in this nationwide coverage of the tragic bushfires in Victoria and South Australia, let me just repeat to you that the death toll in the fires now stands at 67. That's the total for Victoria and South Australia. In Victoria, there have been 42 deaths, and in South Australia, 25. For Opposition Leader Bob Hawke, the fires have delayed his election campaign too.
How quick was it moving?
Just phenomenal. Boom, everything went. It's just incredible. Nobody can help anybody. You just know why you can. People assist anybody. It's just run for your life, that's all.
One of the people caught in the fire was Radio 5DN reporter Murray Nichol. Listen to his voice as the flames tear towards him with relentless ferocity.
At the moment, I'm watching my house burn down. I'm sitting out on the road in front of my own house where I've lived for